Guten Tag, Pewter Report, readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. It is a Thursday edition of the show, and as the show is going live, the Bucs are currently on a plane heading over to Germany, where they will take on the Seattle Seahawks in a more than exciting matchup than I think any of us really expected when we first saw this game on the schedule. So we're going to get into some of the matchups that will be taking place in that game at 9:30 a.m., 6:30 for the Seahawks fans over on the West Coast when it goes on during Sunday. And we're going to talk about if the Bucs can win 2 in a row. They've only done that once this season, and that was to begin the year. So we'll get into all of that. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow co-host from pewterreport.com, JC Allen. JC, how are you on this rainy, dreary, grayish type of Thursday?
Guten Tag, hello.
Hello, guten Tag, guten Morgen. Actually, it's
I'm doing
afternoon now,
fine.
so I don't know.
I'm doing fine. Fine. It's a rainy hurricane.
Wunderbar.
Wunderbar. I wouldn't say I'm doing wunderbar, but it's a rainy hurricane day. Some people got the day off. Some kids got the day off. In my case, my kids had the day off. So just trying to get through, weather the storm and weather the storm that's coming this Sunday, because this is not going to be one of those games where it's a surefire win. What looked like it at the beginning of the schedule, a game against Seattle Seahawks, has quickly turned into a must-win against a surprisingly good team.
I think it's fair to say, JC, with the exception of their home game later in the season, I believe in January against the Panthers, and we'll see how this game goes, but maybe when they come back from the bye and they play against the Cleveland Browns, who will still have Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback. Outside of those two games, maybe Atlanta, you can make the case. I don't really see the Bucs being like a favorite, or they shouldn't be a favorite in really any of the games that they play in for the rest of the season. Like the Bengals obviously have really turned it around so far, and they play them later in the season. The Cardinals are a mess right now, so maybe that could be another one. But again, the Bucs are going out west for that game when they play on Christmas. San Francisco, definitely not, given that they have Christian McCaffrey now and their defense is great. And they're really just a quarterback away from being an absolute juggernaut. But somehow, some way, this matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, the Bucs are a 3-point favorite, which I find very surprising. I get it if the Bucs were the official home team and this game was being played at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. Right. Sure, I can get behind that. But, the Seahawks are, I don't want to say a complete team, because every team has their issues here and there, but they play more together as a team than the Bucs ever had this season. So for the Bucs to be a 3-point favorite, I think those in the chat and those watching the show right now kind of might be able to tell where my bets may be going towards for the Sunday's game.
Right, yeah, and I'll even push back a little bit further on that. I think, this Seattle team, I think they're getting the 3 points maybe because of the extra 6 hours they had to travel. I mean, maybe that's it. But I think if you look at the Browns team right now, this Bucs team has constructed, the Browns match up really well with what they're going to try to do, and that's run the ball. And the Bucs can't stop the run. And with Chubb and Hunt there, that two-headed monster, and they have really good defense as well. If the offense can't get moving, that Browns team, even with Jacoby Brissett, is plus it's in Cleveland. Thanksgiving weekend, like even that, the Bucs will be coming off a bye, so they will have an extra week to get healthy, and for guys like Brady, an extra week to prepare. But I still think that's one of those games the Bucs will probably be favored in, but I don't know if that's clear cut. And the Panthers have already blown out the Bucs.
Yeah,
and the Falcons always play the Bucs tougher at home for whatever reason, and they were a roughing the passer penalty called from potentially tying that game up. And then the Saints have just decimated the Bucs at home and Ragey the last couple of years. So, like, you can't even say, even with all their woes, that should be an overwhelming favorite. This Bucs team needs to win this game. It's going to be very difficult, I think, because of the reasons why you said, and we'll dive in deeper to those reasons, but because the Seahawks are playing as a legit team right now. This is a team going out there, not just an offense and a defense and special teams. They are so cohesive. And if they don't win this game, they really can't afford to drop more than 2, and that's being nice down the stretch. They need to finish around 10-7, I think, to really finish strong and capture the division potentially. I mean, maybe 9-8 gets it done because you got the tiebreaker over a team like the Falcons, but in order to kind of just win that and not have to worry about it, you can't lose more than 2 games down the stretch. Then it starts winning your second in a row in Germany against the Seahawks.
Yeah, it does seem like that they will need, it doesn't need to be a huge difference in a winning record, but they at least need to have a 500 or maybe a 1 game above 500 record in order to win the division. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I do get the sense from some, media and Bucs fans that, oh, all right, they beat the Rams, like all their problems are solved now. And that's absolutely not the case at all. I mean, they were 11 seconds away from losing a 4th straight game in a row where they failed to score 20 points. And, they didn't score their only touchdown of the game until there was 9 seconds to go. So there's still a lot of issues there. I'm still not convinced that the Bucs, while their defense played really well against the Rams, and you got to give your credit to them there, I totally do not think by any stretch of the imagination the Bucs run defense is fully intact, set to go for the rest of the season. When you look at that Rams offense, that is only the Bucs running game is worse. So the Rams offense running the ball is second worst in the league, and their offensive line depleted by injury. So that's going to be a huge thing to look at for this game with Kenneth Walker. I want to talk about that in a second, but first, going to remind everyone that the Pewter Report podcast, of course, is brought to you by Celsius Energy Drinks, the best energy drink on the market, a healthy version of an energy drink because they have 7 essential vitamins, gives you that fuel, that energy to get you through your day. Even on one like today, I'll admit, this weather had me down a little bit, but that's all right. I cracked open a watermelon berry Celsius energy drink, and I already feel the vibes going up much higher as this show goes on. So 7 essential vitamins, like I said, variety of different flavors. You see the Arctic peach and tropical vibe on the screen there. They have even more than that. You can see the sparkling orange, sparkling watermelon, peach mango. So a ton of awesome flavors there. If you haven't had Celsius before, you want to try it out, you want to dip your toe in the water, as they say, go to the store locator on the Celsius website and find out where you can get a Celsius near you, your local convenience store, bodega. I know they got it in Walmarts and Targets all over that place. So check it out. See what flavor you like. And then when you find out, hey, I like this one, I like that one, I want them all, kind of like Pokemon, got to catch them all. Go to Amazon, do the subscribe and save where you can get Celsius energy drinks in bulk and have it sent straight to your house or apartment. I would recommend getting the variety pack because you get a little bit of everything. And variety is the spice of life. So have it sent to your house or apartment. You could set it up every 1, 2, 3 weeks, whatever it is. Totally fine. Your call. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks. That's hashtag Celsius Live Fit, hashtag Celsius Energy. Celsius Energy Drinks, the official sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. And JC, as we were just talking about, the Bucs run defense against the Seahawks offense, and in specifically here, the Seahawks running game. Kenneth Walker is a very exciting player to watch. He rips off big runs. There's nothing about the Seahawks offensive line. It's like, oh man, like they're menacing. They're really going to take it to Vita Vea and Akeem Hicks and Nacho and guys like that. But one of the themes, man, is that they've been playing as a group, as a unit, and Kenneth Walker really, no pun intended, took the ball and ran with it. They obviously had the injury to their other starting running back, and now Kenneth Walker's kind of been the top guy. And hey, the whole team is averaging over 4.5 yards per rushing attempt. So this isn't just one guy dominating, but Kenneth Walker is the one that kind of leads the way.
Kenneth Walker is a sore subject for me right now, Matthew.
Oh no, why is that? Fantasy football?
Yeah, I thought I was pulling a fast one on somebody, and I traded Kenneth Walker before he started,
Right.
the week before he started, and Curtis Samuel for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So far, that has not been
I got
panning
Clyde
out.
Edwards on my team, so I feel your
He was
pain there.
at the time he was a number 2 ranked fantasy running back, and I was like,
The Chiefs
oh,
don't run the ball anymore, and they don't throw it to him in the passing game anymore
right.
like they
So
did. So
he's been a sore subject, but he's
yeah,
been absolutely phenomenal watching this kid. His season had like a slow start because he was sidelined with an injury. But since then, over the last couple of games, I mean, this guy's just exploded onto the scene with Rashad Penny rather, now out for the year. He's got 570 yards. He's averaging 5.1 per carry. He, like you said, he can break it the distance, 74-yard long at 7 touchdowns. And it seems like he's just been a closer. He's scoring touchdowns in almost every fourth quarter of the game that he's been in. He's just been really, really good. They've had a really good draft this year. The young tackles over there that they drafted, Charles Cross in the first round and Abraham Lucas in the third round, they've been doing a really good job opening running lanes on the outside. So Kenneth Walker's a problem. He's definitely going to be a problem. The Bucs run defense really didn't get much worse last week, but that's really because of the opponent. They're still 23rd in the league, allowing 125 yards per game. And I know the defense for the Bucs looked really good last week, but as you alluded to, there really wasn't much to base that off of because this Rams team, this Rams offense outside of Cooper Kupp, who still got his. I mean, Cooper still posted an insane stat line of 9 catches, 127 yards and a touchdown, especially that 69-yard busted coverage play. Other than that, Robert Woods hasn't been Robert Woods. Van Jefferson's 2 games back from an injury. Tyler Higbee's been up and down for them. Their running game has not been there with Henderson and Brown and Akers and Rivers and you name it. They've tried to get it going. This is a team that's completely different with the Seattle Seahawks. They have a litany of guys making plays. It starts in the running game with Kenneth Walker. Geno Smith's doing can move the chains. DJ Dallas, when he gets in there, he can do some stuff. And they still have 2 very good outside threats, and Tyler Lockett, who leads the team in receptions and yards and is tied for touchdowns. They still got DK Metcalf. They've got Noah Fant and Will Dissly. Dissly seems like he just finds the end zone all the time. He's just a good red zone threat. Noah Fant, Marquise Goodwin, who's banged up right now, but he's got speed that it's difficult to match up with. This offense that they have, and it really starts with a ground and pound game now with Kenneth Walker, can beat you in a variety of ways. And I don't want to liken this team too much to that 2001 Patriots team, but I do see a bit of them as it's not any one guy who's doing the damage. It's just a team collectively coming together, working hard, and getting the job done, and really performing above what many people thought they would do. I mean, this is a team that people thought would be in contention for, a bottom draft pick.
Yeah,
right, the number 1 pick. Even. And right now they're in the lead of the NFC West in first place, and they're going to be a tough game this week and a tough matchup especially on the offensive side against the Bucs defense. And we'll break down vice versa, I'm sure, a little bit later in the season, in the show. But they present a challenge, and Kenneth Walker is a huge part of that.
Oh, yeah, they've beyond exceeded any expectations. As you said, when they traded Russell Wilson, it was like, all right, well, this is probably Pete Carroll's last season. He's up there in age. He's been there for a long time. Maybe the message just kind of tunes out. But no, they've received his message and exceeded all expectations and worked even harder than I think anyone really imagined. And you mentioned they start with the ground game, and that's true. And you see why Kenneth Walker was a Heisman candidate and almost won it last season. And it's really just like body blow after body blow. And that's what worries me for the Bucs is that, you look at that Ravens game, they played great against the Ravens in the first half, but you let them slip through the cracks and all of a sudden it gets going. Like Kenneth Walker might be shut down for the first 3 quarters, but then goes off in the fourth. And it just takes that one play and everything it's almost like a Jenga stack or whatever you want to call it. Like that one piece comes out and it goes all over the place. You mentioned Cooper Kupp. The stats show that Cooper Kupp went off against the Bucs, and he did. You can't take away that huge touchdown that he had. But if you can make the argument that the Bucs actually played against Cooper Kupp pretty well for the most part. He had that other
they have in the past.
Not in the past. I'm talking about on Sunday's game. If you take out the touchdown, he had that one other big play, but other than that, they were able to contain him. Again, you can't take away that play, but that's what concerns me for the Bucs in this game is, as you mentioned, they play collectively as a group. And sure, like DK is kind of the celebrity of the team, if you will. Tyler Lockett is well known because he was on that Super Bowl team when they won years ago. So there are some like names that people outside of Seattle would know, just general football fans. But this is also a much bigger matchup talent-wise than the Bucs have seen in the past couple of weeks. The Rams, you really just had Kupp. The Steelers and the Panthers, we know kind of what you had there. Lamar Jackson,
he didn't have anybody. At the end of the game,
it was just Lamar Jackson. Yeah, like Bateman was injured. Andrews left the game early. So you look at those two wide receivers. This is definitely one of the bigger matchups that the Bucs have had to go against in recent weeks. But with that said, Jamel Dean's been playing out of his mind. And when Carlton Davis is in there, he's one of the top corners in the league. So you're kind of fighting fire with fire in that situation. And the last point, going back to the running game a little bit, sure, we didn't learn too much about if the Bucs have improved stopping the run because of who they went up against with the Rams' lowly run game. But we also can't totally make a prediction on how much having Akeem Hicks back is really going to help this defensive line for this Germany game against the Seahawks. Because, of course, it opened up a lot of things for Vita Vea, and Vita Vea wrecked that game against the Rams. You can't really argue that. He had 2 sacks in the game. Made a lot of big plays. So I'm curious to see for Akeem Hicks in this game how much that can help stopping the run game. I know they brought him in because he's quicker than a Ndamukong Suh and he can get after the passer a little bit better. But how much of an impact are we going to see from those two guys in this game when it's a much tougher matchup than what we've seen in the past couple of weeks?
Right. I think that's going to be a huge factor because, as you mentioned, that Ravens game, if Kenneth Walker gets going early and gives you those body blow after body blow after body blow and starts to wear this team down, and the Seahawks are able to really have long drives and extend the time that they're on the field, win the time of possession battle, and the Bucs can't get off the field, and vice versa, the Bucs offense can't deliver the same type of situation where they're having longer drives, that we could look at. And Akeem Hicks, he looked a little gassed later in the game. I definitely saw it. So like that's a situation they've got to play good. They've got to play smart. They've got to play fast out the gate. They can't let those types of situations happen, because if they do, we're looking at another situation where, they might play great in the first half. And I think having Akeem Hicks is huge because he allows Vita to do so much more, taking on those double teams. And he hasn't had that the past couple of weeks. We've seen that. But at the same time, if they can't stop the run and Kenneth Walker gets going, we're in the same situation almost as they were in the Ravens game. And that's what makes me, I wouldn't say nervous for this team, but makes me skeptical that they can go out there and play. Because, Matt, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen a full 60 minutes of football from this team on any phase. Special teams, I think it was the closest last week, and they still let up a big, huge return if it wasn't for a holding penalty that really was away from the play and didn't really affect it. So, if they didn't have that, that's a huge, huge 40-something yard punt return. But again, fortunately, there was a flag called, even though the hold happened away from the play that brought it back. But 60 minutes of football hasn't been this team's strong suit. And it's so weird to say, I think they're really going to need it against the Seattle Seahawks team in Germany.
Yeah, Todd Bowles wasn't too happy that Jake Camarda was making all of those tackles. He had 2 tackles in the game. And they're like, Todd, how do you feel about him? Do you like Jake Camarda making those tackles? He's like, no, I do not. And he said it in a very funny Todd Bowles type of way. You know what I want to see, JC? I want to see the Bucs play with a lead that's more than just a 1-score game. Like, how many times have they really had that since week 2 when they just kept pick-sixing and getting all these interceptions against
the end of the game,
James Winston? Yeah, and that was late in the game. Like, remember, they didn't take the lead until the 4th quarter with that Brashad Perryman touchdown. After that, leads have been few and far between. They haven't really had more than a 7-point lead in a lot of games since week 2. They've been very tough to come by for this whole team, which is really just been super. Watching the Bucs has been super annoying this year because the potential that they have, all the talent that is on this team, and it's just really not totally coming together. And let me ask you this, because we spoke to Byron Leftwich today, and we can go into detail, but for those watching and listening, and again, we appreciate everyone that is watching here. See a couple Seahawks in there too. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll have a bonus episode tomorrow as well with Paul Atwell. We'll talk about that later. Going in detail about the Bucs Seahawks matchup. Goes for an hour and a half. He was with a Seahawks media tape breakdown guy and write stories as well. Yeah, so they recorded last night, which would be very cool. But anyway, like Byron did the same song and dance that he always does. He doesn't really take accountability for what went on. You ask about one player, he generalizes the whole thing and says, we got to play better as a team. We know we can play better. Just no specifics or anything like that. Is that what you got from it? Because that's essentially how I felt.
Absolutely. It's just a bunch of filler with him. Whether, Scott asked him about Donovan Smith's play, and we've all got to get better as a group. I think we can coach it better. We can play it better. Ask him about the running the ball in short yardage situations. It's just the same. We just don't do a good enough job executing. We've got to be better in the red zone. We have to be better. We're working on things. I see it in practice. I asked them about starting to go up tempo more frequently and why they haven't done it much in earlier games. And he's like, oh, we have it every week. We carried it with us every week. Yeah. But depending on who we play against, it determines of when we go to it. He's like, we get into games and we'll see how this thing goes. We're just trying to do the right thing and have as much success as possible. We do understand we've been doing a good job at it. Okay, so why are you using it in situations where it's dire to win? I mean, you look at it in that Ravens game, dire situations where you needed to win. They got success those last couple of drives, touchdown, field goal. You look at last week, touchdown to win the game. You look at against the Packers when they had to get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. No hurry, huddle up. Touchdown, almost tied the game up with a 2-point convert. Like, it's been working since week 3, and the fact that you're only utilizing it now is just insane. And then, especially on first down runs, it's still a problem. They ran the ball 12 times on first down. One was negated by a penalty, so really it turned into and that was for a 5-yard gain. So that was kind of a bigger, or a 4-yard gain. So that was kind of a whatever play, but ended up being 11 times. They only totaled 39 yards on those plays. And the breakdown was pretty much the first was a 3-yard run by Leonard Fournette, 2-yard run, 1 yard by Fournette, then a 5-yard run by Vaughn, then a 4-yard run by Fournette. Then Rachaad White comes in. And this is the series that Lenny was out. And the subsequent series is the one where we got the message from Tracy Wolfson on the broadcast saying that Fournette was frustrated. Rachaad White comes in, has a run for 7 yards, has a run for 6 yards, has a run for 5 yards, all on first down. They go back to Leonard Fournette on the next drive for a first down run, -1 yards. Go back to White, 4 yards. Go back to White. Okay, he got 2 yards later in the game. But are you seeing a trend? Are you seeing are you like?
Yeah, and I don't think it's the offensive line. It's like, oh, Rashaad's in the game. We're going to block better now. That's what he
said. That's what he's saying. He's like, I don't think it matters who's running it. It matters, but it doesn't. We've got to get a better job of getting to the second level and getting better job at getting the right lanes to the right spots. Like, yes, that all matters, Matt. I'm not saying it doesn't, but Rachaad White's vision was something that was highly touted when he was coming out of college. Mm-hmm. He's been compared to Dickerson, to Le'Veon Bell for his vision, patience, and ability to hit a hole once it opens. And I don't know, 6 yards, 7 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, like that's what you're looking for in first down runs.
Exactly. If they're going to run it on first down, I'm fine. If you get 6 yards on first down, that's a win, And I'm not saying they should do it every single time like they did. I don't know if Byron was truly trying to prove a point there, but Lenny got back to the Lenny that we initially saw when he was on this team, where he just he gets tippy-toed. He dances, he tippy-toes, and then he waits. And it's funny because Rachaad White, as you said, looking at the tape and the reason why the Bucs brought him in is because of, as you said, the patience and and the vision. And while it's good to have patience, I think the first game of Rashad's NFL career, he was a little too patient. And that's why it's a rookie, his first career game, not expecting him to be fantastic. But I think he learned quickly. It's almost better for Rachaad White that he isn't patient now. He just hits the hole, but it's helping with those 4, 5, 6, 7-yard gains, which is super important. It was funny on Tuesday, hanging out with a couple friends, and like we're talking about the Bucs and stuff like that, and we're talking about like how the run game is bad. And my buddy, he's a Cowboys fan, but he watches the Bucs too, and he's like, "Ah, man, like it's the offensive line. Like that's why they're not running. That's not why they're not running the ball too well." And I'm like, it's actually not the offensive line. Like, sure, the offensive line could play better, and Luke Gedeke had all of his issues, but it's been better with Nick Leverett in there. I'm like, it's not all of the offensive line. A lot of it's like the offensive coordinator and the running backs. He's like, what do you mean? Like, if they're not getting yards, it's on the offensive line. But I'm like, it's more than that. It's when the running back gets the ball and he's not hitting the hole right away. It's when the offensive coordinator calls a play that brings in 3 tight ends and you have 9 guys in the box. I was like, if you spread them out, I'm like saying all of this stuff. And he's just like, yeah, all this. We kept going back and forth. It accomplished nothing. It was essentially a Twitter fight in real life. But I don't think people realize. But yeah, like personnel matters in these type of situations. And Byron talks about wanting to put the players in the best abilities. And Rachaad White's simply just playing better right now. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. And again, sure, maybe on a play or two, Rashad gets a little bit of better blocking, but he's making the most of it. There's been times Leonard Fournette gets great blocking too, and he just picks the wrong hole. You see it on the tape. And so it's really frustrating getting into that.
Go ahead.
I
was gonna say it is especially because last year how well he played, especially before the injury.
I know.
He was going to, he finished 3rd in the team in receptions. He was gonna crack 1,000 yards if he didn't get injured towards the end of the year and had to miss that time. It's just frustrating. And now he's at the point where it's almost like it's 2020 where he's getting frustrated. Rojo's out there, but it's not Rojo, it's Rachaad White now. And he's dialed in on Twitter. He's dialed in on the media. Like he knows what he knows what we're saying, that Rachaad White should get more. And it probably pisses him off. He just signed his
I don't blame him there.
3-year, $21 million deal. But the fact of the matter is you're 100% right. I think at this point, it has less to do with the offensive line, more so with predictability on the play calling, play sequencing. And also just Lenny he doesn't appear to have in the passing game. Guys got it.
30 receiving yards on the team.
It doesn't in the running game. It just seems like something's off there, and his speed isn't as good as it was. And I don't think everyone wants to be. Oh, he was overweight in the offseason. I don't think that has to do anything with it.
That has nothing to do with how he's playing.
It just looks like
he's in shape now.
Indecisiveness.
He's drinking Celsius and working out. So
he is with him and Scotty Miller. I think it's more of indecisiveness at the hole. I mean, you see where he sees a hole, but then he tries to, or just trying to do too much. I think that's what it is. I think it's more of a mental roadblock for Lenny. Obviously, the speed's not going to come back, but I think it's more of a mental roadblock for him more than it is something can't be corrected at all. I don't know.
That's interesting. That's interesting because I think I hear what you're saying. I get what you're saying because I think sometimes he tries to go for that big 65-yard run where sure, that's great, but you're not always going to get it. So just make sure you get to the right spot and have plus yards than just setting up a 2nd and 2 or
right. Because when he's in space as a receiver out of the backfield, you can tell he's still got. He can still make people. I mean, you go back to that Dallas game, he was like whoop whoop.
Right?
I can't do the Berman as good as you, but he was still making guys miss, and he was still churning out yards after the catch, and it just seems like, I don't know, behind the line, he's having trouble figuring out what he needs to do. And maybe that turns around with some real self-scouting after the bye week, or maybe at that point, it's Rachaad White's time. I don't know. I do know one thing, Matt, and you and I both agree on this. The snaps need to be closer. They need to be even closer than they were last week.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why it was weird. Lenny's getting upset about the playing time, and it was still 57% to 30 whatever percent. It was still a marginable lead for Leonard Fournette. Want to give a shout out to Maze Guru. He says he's a Seahawks fan, but he's not bashing the Bucs. Hey, welcome to the show. Clearly the Bucs are playing your team this week, and we welcome all fans. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about the Bucs, your next opponent. We have awesome Bucs fans in here too. I see Tony in there. a football fan as well. Common Sensei, always in the mix, and a lot of other fans as well. So Stephen Reed in there. So appreciate everyone watching and listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast. Of course, Pewter Report TV and all of our social media at Pewter Report. Let's get into the injury report that came out before the Bucs flew off to Germany. But before that, we'll hear a message from the Seminole Hard Rock Casino in Tampa.
Just the way you like it.
Me and my wife decided we'll have some fun. I was playing a 2-cent machine. 6 bets in, I hit a jackpot. $117,000.
Hi, my name is Tara, and I won over $500,000 playing slots. I do this full time, and I would not change it for the world.
I'm Gloria. I won over $2 million at Seminole Hard Rock Casino. I went and bought a bunch of jewelry.
My name is Mike, and I won over $350,000. I love playing baccarat because it hits different. When you pull in that car and you flip over that 9, beating that 8, can't miss.
I'm Jimmy. I won $500,000 in a slot tournament at Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa. Even a blind squirrel can get a nut sometimes.
My name is Philip, and I won $215,000 on Blazing Sevens.
Putting my last $40 on the table.
Next thing you know, bam, $215,000 jackpot. I hit that bad boy.
I didn't realize how much it would change my life.
You only live once. Have fun with it, right?
Anybody can win at Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa.
You never know when you can win big over at the Seminole Hard Rock and Casino in Tampa. And going to a Christmas party there next month. I'm very excited for that. Went to it last year. It was an awesome time. Looking forward again to going this year. So very, very excited for that. So make sure you check it out. Seminole Hard Rock Casino in Tampa. It's right here. So you can do some gambling, go to the Bucs game the next time that they're home in a couple of weeks. Anyway, let's get into this injury report here. Came out a little bit earlier. You could also find it on pewterreport.com. Tom Brady was limited in practice. He just had rest. He's good to go. No worries there. Cam Brate was a full participant. He has that neck injury that's been dealing with for a couple of weeks. So still not totally sure if he'll play in the game because he participated last week as well and did not play. And neck injuries are very, very serious. So I think the Bucs are being cautious with this, as they should be.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see him until the Browns game the earliest.
Yeah,
don't risk it with this game.
Right, and we love Cam, but Todd should be number one. I don't think there's going to be much pushback there. That's Todd's job moving forward. But in Cam Brate's defense, he's been everywhere from the top tight end to the last tight end of the depth chart. So I'm sure
he's been number 2 the last 2 seasons.
Exactly.
He knows his limitations. He's trying to get better at the blocking, but at this point, Cade makes more sense because he can do both right now. So I think he'll be fine with that role. I don't see him
question. Mike Evans, for the second day in a row, dealing with the ribs and ankle injury. He was limited. That's something to pay attention to because he got hit on that first play against the Rams and didn't didn't look his total self the rest of the game. So
I'll be shocked if he doesn't play though.
Oh, I think he's going to play, but Mike's had some drops lately and not exactly playing like the Mike Evans that we all know. So
got a tough test too. I mean,
ribs are tough, man. I mean, we saw it kept Gronk out for quite a while last season. Really, football rib injury, a little tough to play with. Russell Gage did not participate, hamstring injury. Dude, I don't care if he doesn't play until December. Just get healthy, man. Just get healthy. I'd rather wait a month and get Russell Gage at 100% in December than this 45 to 55% Russell Gage.
Whatever it is that he's out there.
Yeah. Luke Gedeke did not participate again with the foot injury, so Nick Leverett will still be the starter. Julio Jones had rest, and he's dealing with that PCL injury, of course. Did not participate yesterday. He was a full participant today. Something to monitor. We talked a lot about Julio. I still think even when he plays, not totally efficient. So I don't know. Good if he plays, I guess.
This is a big one. Yeah.
And he didn't even really play in the second half of last week's game, So every time he gets up, it takes like 20 minutes, half an hour for him to get up. Nick Leverett did not participate. He has an illness right now. Yeah.
And that's the big one right there. Now I know in Tampa, because my daughter had it on Sunday, there is a little thing going around. It's a fever and a stomach bug. It was only 24 hours for her. one of my coworkers at work his kid just had it. It's only 24 hours for them.
Okay.
So fingers crossed that he's going to sleep on the plane, and this will just be a 24-hour symptom for him. Because if not, then they're diving down to Brandon Walton most likely at that left guard spot, and that's a different story against a Seattle team that's been pretty decent at getting pressure on the quarterback, even though their numbers are even though the players aren't like the guys who you'd think would be. They're not the big name household name guys. They've been doing a really good job of getting pressure. So.
Yeah, again, running theme of just collective effort, collective group doing their thing. Shaq Mason was out for a personal reason and also dealing with an ankle injury on Wednesday. He was back limited today. JJ Russell. JJ Russell, linebacker, did not participate. Antoine Winfield Jr., once again, a full participant. But we know the story there. Todd Bowles said earlier this week that he's still in concussion protocol. He practiced all of last week, but did not play in the game. We'll find out more tomorrow when we get to speak to Todd Bowles, who will be in Germany. So some of the reporters that are in Germany right now, Jenna Lane, Greg Allman, Rick Stroud, they're in Germany right now. I'm sure they'll be on the Bucs YouTube where we can check it out.
And we don't even know if he was on the plane, which is a
interesting
situation, because I know sometimes with concussions, depending on where you're at, they recommend not traveling. And
so that's one of the downsides of playing internationally in Germany is you have to leave a day earlier, and so you have to make that decision. I remember last year too, when I think it was Winfield as well, had a concussion, and they were going to play the Eagles, and it was a Thursday night game. So you kind of had to make that decision. Like maybe he could have been good to go by Saturday, but because you're playing Thursday and you got to leave early, you got to make that decision. So yeah, we'll find out a lot tomorrow. Because like you said, he's probably not going to fly if he's not going to play in the game. That'd be kind of silly to do with a concussion, which is
right, exactly. And I think JJ Russell. Right, exactly. And you don't want it to cause any other issues or mental issues. I think JJ Russell's interesting too, because the Bucs don't really have another. He's their fourth inside linebacker. So if anything happens, you're already dealing with the Akunle Fadokazi. But if something happens, they have Ulysses Gilbert who they signed recently, but he's just been on the practice squad for 2 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see if they elevate who they elevate, or if they're just going to roll with 3 and maybe, say we've got Keanu O'Neal, worst case scenario. But then it's also one of those, if you don't have Winfield there, I know you have Nolan Turner, Mike Edwards is back healthy. It's one of those situations, if in case you need it,
right?
They're thin at both safety and linebacker. If one of those, if an injury to occur at either one of those spots, definitely don't want to see Delaney back at safety. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those emergency situations. Almost like a couple of years ago when the Bucs had the Thursday night game against the Rams, and Lenny was injured, and I think Rojo was out, and maybe Keyshawn Vaughn was the only guy available, whatever. So there was talks of like Devin White being the emergency running back.
Right.
If that was the case.
The Rams last year, Cam Brate was the wide receiver for you.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, you never want to get into those emergency situations, but it is kind of fun when you see a player play a different position. You kind of see it more in like baseball, things like that, not necessarily football. But
Kicking,
I would like
think in football is where you see it a lot.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The kicker gets hurt, so either like the punter has to do it, or like the Cowboys had their safety do it. And Dominican Sue kicked an extra point in a preseason game, I think, for the Lions back in the day. Ocho Cinco got to in a preseason game. So
Wes Welker.
Oh, did Wes Welker? I remember when Doug Flutie did the
the drop kick.
Yeah, the drop kick.
Wes Welker did it in a Dolphins game in the regular season. Yeah, so sometimes you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bucs are in good hands, though. I think they got Jake Camarda.
I do kind of want to see for one series. I would like to see Devin White play as a running back. I think that would be cool.
I want to see Vita Vea get back to his roots.
Yes, yeah. Get on that goal line again. Nothing else is working in the red zone. So, why not? Why not try that? Real quick, I'll go through the Seahawks injury report. Safety Joey Blunt with the quad, full participant. DJ Dallas, the running back, a knee, full participant. A lot of these guys are full participants. Tight end Will Dissly, a chest injury, fully participated. Defensive end Poona Ford, an illness, fully participated. Linebacker Cullen Gillespie with a knee, did not participate. Wide receiver Marquise Goodwin, a groin injury, was limited. Defensive end Shelby Harris, elbow, fully participated. Wide receiver Penny Hart, fully participated with the hamstring injury. Safety Ryan Neal, ankle, was limited. Outside linebacker Darrell Taylor with the groin, fully participated. And nose tackle Al Woods has an illness. A couple of illnesses going around for both teams. He fully participated as well. So not too many
illnesses, which is good.
Yeah, not too many really serious injuries for the Seahawks that might take out some of their best players.
I think Marquise Goodwin is probably the biggest name just because, he's got the groin injury. And while he hasn't been a huge factor for them, he has made some splash plays, and he's got that long distance speed, and a groin injury could kind of hamper that ability. He's got 2 touchdowns on the year, 179 yards. So, he's still a guy that they can go to when they need to. So,
Let's talk pretty healthy for the most part for the Seahawks. Bucs have a couple questions with Brady and Winfield, as we talked about, and not looking like we're going to see Russell Gage again, and Julio Jones again is in bubble wrap. So I don't know how much of a factor he can be. But I think for the offense, we'll talk about the Bucs offense now. There's been kind of 2 running themes with the offense this week based on how they played Sunday and how that game ended against the Rams. Right. One being, will they or please can they go a little more up-tempo? Because it seems that when they go up-tempo, it's the only time it works for them. It's the only time that they score touchdowns for this team because the run game doesn't work. And when you take the game out of Byron Leftwich's hands and you let Tom Brady call the plays, the Bucs can actually move the ball down the field. Even when you have 50 seconds and no timeouts, the Bucs find a way to score. And the other one is, if Gage isn't going to play, if Julio's going to be limited by this knee injury where he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out, he's not in the big moments, the Bucs still need that third option in the passing game. And Cade Otton is getting there for sure, without question. I just don't think we can put it all on Cade Otton. And they sprinkle in the running game, as we talked about, Leonard Fournette. But typically when the running back's getting the ball in the passing game, it's not like all the way vertically down the field. It's either short dump-off passes, 5-10 yard routes, and then if they break tackles and make plays, that's great for the running back. But Scotty Miller was a guy that stepped up last week. Again, we'll forget about the drop because they ended up winning the game. But he made some crucial catches on that last drive. He had his best game of the season, 5 receptions. I think he got over 50 yards, so definitely Scotty Miller's best game. I'm not totally willing to say that Scotty Miller is going to be like consistently that guy. We saw him get that opportunity against the Packers. He wasn't able to really do much with it. It was a great game for Scotty last week. And again, we all like Scotty. I just don't know if we're going to get that every single week. I wouldn't expect it. I don't think that was like a breakout game for Scotty Miller, but maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just curious what you think about the situation.
Yeah, I think, we've been talking about this for, I feel like 3 or 4 weeks now, Matty, that someone needs to step up and be that number 3 guy. I don't know if that's going to be Scotty on a consistent game-to-game basis, but even if it's not one guy, but it's a collection of efforts, what we've seen, as long as someone's stepping up, because that's the problem here. We haven't seen that guy. No one's stepped up really, because Mike and Chris are just getting force-fed almost all the targets.
Yeah.
Because Brady doesn't have anywhere else to go to most of the time. So if, it's Scotty getting separation, if it's Cade getting separation, being able to make plays, they need someone to step up. I don't know if they have a true number 3 option on this team. It should be Julio Jones or Russell Gage, but neither of those guys have been right all season long. So, it's at this point, it's still a number 3 option by committee. I think Cade Otton's going to have bigger games going forward, maybe not as big as a game-winning touchdown, but I think he'll be part of the game plan. There's nothing like catching a touchdown to win the game to earn Brady's trust, right? Yeah. And we heard Brady after the game say, hey, that was the play that I wanted to run. I told Byron, this is what I want to run. He called that play, much like all the other plays he called on the way down there. And it was successful. So that builds that camaraderie and that trust. Obviously, Scotty making those catches have to do the same thing. Brady said in the post-game press conference, he doesn't count drops. He doesn't, and he saw that by going back to Scotty on that important, final drive of the game to win. So I agree. Someone's got to step up. I don't think it's going to be OBJ as people are talking about.
Right.
He wants a
I wanted to
multi-year
get to
deal.
this. And Tyler, I appreciate the question or just the statement OBJ signed him. If Odell Beckham wants to come to Tampa, absolutely sign him, because at this point we're seeing Julio, it just isn't the guy because of injuries. And if it's a 1-year rental type of thing, sure, go all in with Odell, because this is probably your last year with Tom Brady. So I understand you have Russell Gage, $10 million a year. They have him for 3 seasons. Hey, we're paying him. We can't bring in another guy. But if this is Tom Brady's last year, sure, go for it. But other than just wanting to play with Tom Brady, why would Odell Beckham want to come to the Bucs? Sure, they're at the top of the division, but it's the weakest division in the NFC, like hands down. And sure, you get that first home game. Even if you win your division, and that's not a guarantee at this point. I just think with all the other options out there, like if I'm Odell, I would much rather go to the Cowboys and be essentially their number 2 wide receiver than go to the Bucs and be the 3rd guy at best. So I appreciate the Odell sentiment, but it takes 2 to tango, and I just don't see why Odell would want to come here other than for the fact that playing with Tom Brady.
And he pretty much said too recently, he's like, I'm sick of living out of a suitcase. Like, he wants to go somewhere. I think if he signs somewhere, he's going to try to get a long-term deal. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a 1-year stopgap, or it's going to be somewhere where he thinks he can sign a long-term deal in the offseason with that club. And the names have been out there: Cowboys, Giants, Packers. Those are the teams that.
Well, he's not going to the Packers at this point.
Probably not. Probably not. Giants would be weird to see him back there, but I don't know. I don't think it's an option for him. For the Bucs at all. I know he's wanting to play with Brady, but where does he fit? I mean, sure, at this point, Julio and Gage have given you practically nothing. So if OBJ can step in and take that number 3 and then just push those guys down the roster line, then sure. I mean, I don't think having OBJ on your roster is going to be worse than having Brashad Perriman on the roster.
Right.
But I just think, listen to the Bowles comments, listen to OBJ's comments, Bowles, about how, getting a new receiver in here is going to take a couple weeks to get up to speed. Listen to Tyler Johnson pretty much say that, about Tyler Johnson, getting him in here, that he knows the system, knows he can play X, Y, and Z, and he knows that he trusts them there and got chemistry with Brady. I just don't know. I think that was their big wide receiver acquisition move. I wrote about it. I think that's what they're going to do. Now, Gronk is a different story, Matty. I think if Gronk wants to come back, they'll move heaven and earth to get him back on the roster.
Of course.
They're not going. They have a little over $3.5 million in cap space, and they're not going to go to someone to restructure or whatever when they're already $48 million negative next season without a quarterback to open up a big chunk of space for Odell. And I don't know if Odell wants to come back for the veterans minimum and pay him, $500 for the $500,000 for the rest of the year. So he did it last year, but I don't know if he wants to do it again. We'll see what happens. I'm just skeptical on the whole OBJ. I think Gronk is a much, much higher chance of probability. And even that's a long shot.
And the Gronk thing is different too, because he only wants to play with Tom. Like, he doesn't want to go somewhere else. And so it's kind of a different thing. It's pretty much, hey, Gronk, do you want to play? Okay, cool. We'll bring you in. It's pretty much, it's up to Gronk whether or not he wants to do it. So it's a little bit different than Odell being like, okay, I have my options here. Gronk, it's just the Bucs.
Right.
Or that's about it. Trustin, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Trustin says, Bucs come home with win. I heard rumors and are ramping up about Gronk coming back for a run after the bye. Could you all see that happening truthfully? Now, JC, you've been saying for a little bit that you predict that Gronk is going to come back. If the Bucs
got to win, though.
They have to win. Yeah, they have to win. If they win this game and the Falcons lose tonight, they play against the Panthers, not the most thrilling of Thursday night football games.
Really bad.
But if the Bucs can build a sustainable lead in the division, and they still do control their own destiny, if they win out, they would win the division. Right. But if they can build like a 1 or 2 game lead, then sure, I think that would entice Gronk to come back a little bit more. I've always said Gronk at this point has nothing to prove. He makes probably even more money post-football now than he would like playing in it. But hey, love of the game. If he wants to come back, I still don't totally think that he's going to come back. There's still a lot of issues with this offense. I don't know if they totally all get corrected if Gronk comes back. And sure, it's a huge upgrade if he's in there. But then what about like getting back into football shape? How long does it take for him to gel and connect in this offense? I'm aware that he fully knows this offense, being in here the last 2 seasons. I just think it might take a little bit of time. And then you're looking at like middle to late December where it's like, all right, now the offense is finally getting it going with Gronk. And at that point, you'll see where the Bucs are. So it's totally a possibility, but I don't know.
I think too, if they come back with a win, it's a more possibility. I guess on the Fox broadcast, he said, "My girlfriend's missed me." Talking about, we heard his agent say he doesn't think he's done. We heard his girlfriend, who spends more time with him than anyone, Camille Kostick, say she doesn't think he's done. And I think he's such an upgrade on third down, on the running game, on red zone. Like there's so much, and he and Tom know each other. Like it's just like the back of their hand. I still think that the allure, if they're in a position to make a serious run. Remember, the NFC is in shambles right now. Like the teams that you thought were going to be the teams aren't the teams. And I still don't know if I trust the teams that are there. I don't know if I trust that the Eagles are great. They haven't really been tested. The Cowboys are where the Cowboys are. They're the Cowboys, and they're going to cowboy it up some point. The Giants still, I don't think, I don't know if they're really truly
playing above level right now.
Vikings, another team, I think they're playing above level. The Seahawks, they're playing like a team right now, but I don't know if they're better. If you handed a random person on the street who knows football, but and take the records out and said, this is the Bucs roster, this is the Seahawks roster, and say, who do you think's the better team right now? Everyone would say the Bucs. So they have the better talent of almost any team in the NFC. So I think that plays into it too. If they come back with a win, they're at 500, and then I just think the allure of walking into the Hall of Fame with Brady together into that induction ceremony 5 years from now is just so strong. I don't know if Brady starts pulling at that string like, bro, we could go into the Hall of Fame together. We can make a run here, that we got the pieces. We're missing you. You're the missing ingredient. Jensen comes back probably sometime in mid-December as well. Like that changes the whole dynamic of this football team because that changes how much better they're going to be able to run the ball. And the attitude, and just it solves some of their woes as far as red zone and as far as third down and as far as run blocking with both of those guys back. I could see it. They get those guys back. Let's say what is the Browns, the Saints, the 49ers, the Bengals. The 49ers Bengals game with those 3-4 games left to kind of tune up before the playoffs. Look out, Bucs can make a run because even the AFC, I mean, the Chiefs should have lost to the Titans,
Yeah, if the Titans had a quarterback. I mean, I like Malik Willis, but he's a. The
Jets beat the Bills. Every team is susceptible. This team, this NFL year is wonky. I think the Bucs have the best talent, especially if they can bring those guys back and they can go on a run. December, November football, Matt, as we know, and as you know, as I know personally, as you know, unfortunately, and as we've come to know together as the Bucs, is when this team and Brady does their best work.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there is one flaw in Brady's convincing point, hypothetically, going to the Hall of Fame together. That means that Brady's retiring after this year and not going to the San Francisco 49ers. But, yeah, we'll see there. And Gronk, it's funny because, like, the Gronk brothers, the family, they have, like, a YouTube channel. They're always playing different sports and doing fun, different things. I don't know if I've seen this yet on their YouTube channel. I don't think they've gone bowling yet, but they should definitely film something over at the Pin Chasers in Tampa. Well, they have multiple locations in East Pasco, Zephyr Hills, Midtown, and Veterans of Tampa. They have one pretty close to the Advent Health Training Center where the Bucs practice on a weekly basis. It's a great place to go with friends and family, either during the day or at night. A fun outing with friends and family. Different deals all the time. All you could eat pizza, all you can bowl, dollar beers. The food's very underrated, from the chicken tendies to the pizza to the nachos. All great stuff. If you have a kid and you want to book a birthday party for them, they have a great birthday party deals over there. They have a arcade area so the kids can bowl, play some video games. A lot of fun stuff there. Go to pinchasers.net to see what deal they have for you. They also have brunch on the weekends. Maybe you want to go watch the Bucs and have some brunch. Go to Pin Chasers and do that. And of course, the holidays are coming up next month. Start booking your holiday party because they get booked pretty quickly. So check out pinchasers.net. See all of the great deals that they have.
Now, I will say, Matt, with this Seattle defense, they've been playing really well, better than their standard. And I think it's a really young team, too. If you look at them, the two cornerbacks, the Seahawks doubled up at every position in the draft. They doubled up at edge rusher, they doubled up at wide receiver, doubled up at corner, and most notably tackle and also running back as well. I think that the pair of Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant have been playing outstanding, and it shows because of the interceptions. And if you look at right now, the Seahawks, they're fifth in the league in turnover margin. But really where it surprises me is because they don't really have that name guy. They don't have, obviously they're without Jamal Adams, who is a huge part of their rush, but they're doing it with guys like Shelby Harris and Darrell Taylor, Jordan Brooks, and Boye Mafe, who was their second round.
We're all big on him. Well, maybe not all of us, but pretty big.
They are actually fourth in the league in sacks right now. They're getting after the quarterback at a really good rate. They're protecting their own quarterback at a pretty good rate around, the middle of the pack. But that defense, while it has struggled against the run a bit, they're 27th, so they're below the Bucs. They're bottom half. And the pass defense is still giving up some plays. I don't think that's indicative of what this team has been. And they've been able to really get after the quarterback, make turnovers, and that's been a huge reason for the success. So playing smart football is going to be huge. And Brady hasn't had a turnover since, week 1? I mean,
he's come very close. Like, he probably should have had a couple of interceptions in the Rams. Yeah. So he's gotten away with some of that. But yeah, to your point, Geno Smith, 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Like, that's a great ratio right then and there. The Seahawks, again, have a great blend of like veteran players and young players that are really doing a great job. Like, whether it's, Lockett's been there for a long time, but you also got Kenneth Walker. You mentioned some of the guys on the defensive line, some veterans, some, rookies with Mafe, Tariq Woolen at corner, obviously. Him and Sauce Gardner have been, Sauce Gardner was a first-round pick, so that was kind of expected, but just 2 corners being a revelation as a rookie at arguably the toughest position to play in football outside of the quarterback position. I think you can make the case for corner. So they're a team that the Bucs have to play. You mentioned before, they can't have any letdowns. They can't, JC, it's so funny. Like last week, Josh Capo and I, during the pregame show, we were like half joking, but half serious about it. Like how many 3-and-outs the Bucs were going to have. And we initially had it at 3.5. Then we moved it to 4.5. The Bucs had 3-and-outs in the first half. And it's just like, you can't have that, especially against a team like the Seahawks. Like even 2 weeks ago, they played against the Giants. And, it was a close game for most of it. The Seahawks didn't like dominate the whole game, but then the Giants fumbled twice on special teams plays, on punt returns. They made them pay. And that's really what it's going to come down to, whether it's, allowing the big run against the Ravens, allowing the big play to Cooper Kupp, the one little mishap, the Jenga piece coming out and all falling out. Unless the offense picks it up, and I'm not predicting them to pick it up just yet. I think after the bye is when you really might see some changes. Long lost Glazer here. We should have IK and Kampali as an honorary captain this week. Send him out for the coin toss to get Geno rattled. That was, for those that don't remember, when he was on the Jets, Todd Bowles' first year coaching the Jets, IK punched Geno Smith, broke his jaw. Ryan Fitzpatrick became the starter, continued the cycle of Ryan Fitzpatrick going from backup to starter, getting a new contract. And then, so the Jets cut him, obviously. And then Rex Ryan was coaching the Bills at the time and signed IK and then made him a team captain for when the Bills played against the Jets in a typical Rex Ryan type of move. I was also going to say that the Bucs should have hired Caleb Presley and put him on the sideline against the Rams. I don't know if anyone here saw his Sunday conversation with Sean McVay, which was absolutely hilarious. But anyway, that's I kind of lost my train of thought when I saw that comment with long lost Glazer. But it was very funny. But yeah, the Bucs they can't let up. They can't keep making the same mistakes. And that's what really frustrated me with the offense in general, is that up until the last drive with Brady to Kate Otten, it was the same thing. 3-and-outs, poor red zone production, can't convert on 3rd and short when they run it. The next time they have a 3rd and 1 or 2 and it's over midfield, I want to see play action on a 3rd and 2. I don't care if they line up with the 3 tight ends, which they do for whatever reason. Show me something a little bit different, just a little bit different. That's all I ask for.
No, I agree. And I think that's what we need to see. We need to see more hurry up. We need to see more play action. We need to see more runs out of a wide set, because it's the offense is so predictable, Matt. Like we're sitting at home. You're obviously diagnosing it with Paul or with Josh or Casey, and it's like I'm sure you can tell what's coming up even before it comes up. It's that predictable, and they need to shake it up a little bit. And they've been doing some different things here and there that have worked, but the problem is, Matt, is they don't go back to it once it works.
Yeah,
it seems like they're like, okay, that worked. Well, now let's do something that we've been doing that doesn't work, and it's really frustrating to see. But I think, like you said, they've been getting turnovers and they've been making teams pay for it. And if you look at this team of the Seahawks, they're putting up points at a really good clip too. And part of that is getting points off turnovers. 26 points a game. The Bucs can't win this with their output they've shown the last couple weeks. There's no way they're going to win this game if they only score 18 points or even 20 points. I don't think. They've got to be able to put points on the board, the defensive, and they have to have extended drives. They can't, as much as fun as it is for a quick drive where you throw a pass and 60 yards down the field, the Bucs can't afford that because other teams have been able to, have these long extended drives that wear the defense out. And if that's going to be the case, this defense can get gassed, and they've got the playmakers to take advantage of it, whether it's Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, Noah Fant, Tyler Lockett. The list goes on and on. It's going to take I hate this. It's going to take technique, fundamentals, execution, and 4 quarters. I feel like I'm a walking football just glossary at this point.
And we've seen the Bucs defense get tired before. So it's definitely something that we have to pay attention to for this game. Tonight's Thursday night football game is something that Bucs fans should be paying attention to as well, because it is Falcons against Panthers. Bucs fans should be rooting for the Panthers to beat the Falcons. I would give the Bucs the outright lead in the NFC South, pending them winning, of course, but they at least have the outright lead for just a little bit. And if they weren't in the division, I could see Panthers-Falcons not being like the most exciting game, especially with the Panthers tanking, unless they play the Bucs.
Add to the excitement, though.
To add to it, thank you, JC. To add to it, you can make some picks on Underdog Fantasy to really bring more excitement into it. And Underdog Fantasy is the easiest way to get some action on the NFL with their Pick'em game and the Rivals game. You just pick an over or under on your favorite or least favorite player stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. You pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your Pick'em slip, get every pick right, and take home some cold, hard cash. Use the promo code Pewter, P-E-W-T-E-R, and get your first deposit doubled up to $100 by Underdog. Even if you learn from Plant City Math, you know that that's a really good deal. So, again, use the promo code Pewter, get your first deposit doubled up to $100.
What do you got for me tonight, Matt?
I'm going to make my Underdog picks right now. I have 2, but I kind of want to do a third. So right now, I'm taking the over or higher, 70.5 rushing and receiving yards for Cordero Patterson.
Like it.
I think he's been great when he's in there. It's just a matter of being healthy. I'm taking the lower in 172.5 passing yards for PJ Walker. And I was talking with Kevin O'Donnell of Fox Sports, and he was saying that, and I agree with this, that, there is a chance that they bring Baker Mayfield back into the game again. So if Walker struggles early, they take him out. That under's done with. So I'm going to take those 2.
Oh, AJ Terrell is what makes that a bit of a question mark, because I don't know who they're going to have over there on DJ Moore. But I still like I do like the thought process if they put Baker Mayfield in there.
I want to take one more. I think I'm going to do Drake London higher than 3 receptions. That's kind of low. Yeah. All right. I'm going to do Drake London. Some people say he's kind of like Mike Evans. I'm going to do Drake London.
Especially with Cordell Patterson back.
Yeah.
He might get a little bit more, I don't know, less attention,
Right.
perhaps,
Yeah, I kind of want to do one more. Why not? Let's do one more. Panthers don't really have too much. Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, 4.5. But again, with PJ Walker throwing the ball to him.
Yeah. How about Eddie Pinheiro over 1.5 field goals made? I'm going to do that one. I like getting the kicker involved. All right. That's going to be my picks.
How many large? I'm putting 5 large on there right now. Yeah.
I'm going to do
no insurance.
Yeah, I never do the insurance. I'm going to do 10. I'm going to do 10 to win 100. Yeah.
Voila. All right.
Going wild. Well, I won big a couple weeks ago. Nice. You did the same one?
Yeah. We got the
let's go. Let's go.
Together. Let's do
All right.
it.
Awesome. We'll make sure we tweet that out as well before the game. Cali Bucks does not like my picks or our picks at all whatsoever, but that's okay. Trustin here saying my crazy parlay: Patterson anytime TD, Foreman anytime TD, Patterson over 60 yards, Falcons cover -2.5, and under 41.5. I was looking at that under as well. By the way, everybody, this isn't our last podcast of the week. This is our last podcast of the business week, as you say. But we also got the Pewter Tailgate Show and the Pewter Game Day Show coming up this Sunday, which we are very excited for. A little bit of a different setup this week because Walk-Ons, which we love doing the tailgate show from, is not going to be open at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So we'll be doing our pregame show live from the comfort of our own homes at 8 o'clock. And then I will be on for the Pewter Game Day show with a guest at 9:30. So the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show presented by Walk-Ons and Age Rejuvenation at 8 o'clock. And then the Pewter Game Day show presented by Celsius going on at 9:30 for all of our live in-game reactions and analysis and things that we've learned about the team during the week, talking to players that we could talk about during the game while that goes on. But don't you worry. If you still want to go to Walk-Ons, they will be open for the game. So you can still head on over there when the game gets going. They'll be open at 9 o'clock, games at 9:30. Like we talk about. Absolutely love Walk-Ons. I go all the time. More to the one in Midtown. It's a little bit closer to where I am. Definitely go on Tuesdays because they have happy hour deals all day long, which is fantastic. A lot of different Cajun food. Their wings are awesome. They got the 22-ounce beers, so you can get that. Good spot to go tonight if you want to watch that Thursday night football game. So a lot of great stuff to get into. JC, before we sign off, just any last thoughts about this game? For you don't have to give a prediction because we'll have the Pewter predictions tomorrow that you can see on pewterreport.com. Any last comments?
I just think that if the Bucs are going to win this game, they really have to be sharp. This is not a game that I thought that the Bucs would have a shot at losing to begin the season, but I also didn't think they're going to lose to the Steelers or the Panthers either. So, I think, playing clean, mistake-free football is going to be it's either going to make or break this team. I hate to say it. I feel like they're due for a turnover. If that does happen, how do they overcome it? They're due to make a turnover. They got to capitalize on it with the offense. So it's really going to just come down to just playing smart football. And I think they've turned that win, kind of turned this team around a little bit. I do want to just mention to Wayne Hackinson right here, who's saying, how about putting Zion McCollum at punt returner, kick returner? Jalen Darden's been doing great.
He has been doing well. I've seesawed with him. I was on the bandwagon, then I was off for a little bit, but he's been doing well. And Greg Allman pointed out that he's averaging better return stats than when Jaden Mickens was the returner.
Right.
A lot of people, including some of us at Pewter Report, have called for Jaden Mickens to come back to this team. But yeah, Darden did a great job last week. There's no other way to really there's no other way to really say it. Darden was really good. Yeah, he's been fine. So we'll see how he does internationally. Again, the game is in Germany. And by the way, one last thing before we get out of here. We have a bonus episode of the Pewter Report podcast coming out tomorrow, exclusively on our YouTube channel. Again, that's Pewter Report TV. Make sure you subscribe. It's Paul Atwall, one of our contributors at pewterreport.com, resident genius. That's what I like to call him. He's on with Griffin. His last name is escaping me at the moment, but his Twitter handle is at CMikeSpinMove. He has a Seattle Overload podcast. And these are Paul's words. They went on for an hour and a half. This was pre-recorded, so we won't be able to get to any comments or anything like that. But this was pre-recorded. They went for an hour and a half. And as Paul said, they nerded out over different setups, game plans, looks on offense and defense for the Bucs and the Seahawks. So if you want a full deep dive into the schematics and all of that, it's Paul and Griffin, again, at CMikeSpinMove of the Seattle Overload podcast. That will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow, a bonus episode. So make sure you check it out. Going to be a lot of fun. Paul is amazing at all this stuff. He's a genius when it comes to schematics. And Paul, he could be an offensive coordinator in the league.
For OC, man.
Him and Josh Capo could really come up with some great.
They would turn this team around real quick.
They would, absolutely. I would totally sign off or co-sign for that one. So check that out tomorrow. Check out the Pewter Tailgate Show and the Game Day Show on Sunday. An early game because the Bucs are in Germany. We'll see if they can win 2 in a row. But that'll do it for now. For JC Allen, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you this weekend on Sunday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Auf
Wiedersehen. Out.
Wiedersehen.